Hey, welcome back to Troll Time. I'm your host, Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King. And this is a show where we talk sports, movies, or anything thought provoking. Um, Today we'll be talking about WNBA news, Christie Sides out as head coach of the Indiana Fever. We also be talking about a new update with Unrivaled. We'll dive in a little bit of some hitter games coming up next week in women's college basketball. Bronny makes his first NBA bucket. Also, Cat went off for 44 last night for the New York Knicks. We'll be recapping college football. Hey, Buffaloes, we're going bowling, baby.
That's
And
it.
then we got the NFL. We'll be doing a recap of that. Of course, you know I don't do this show alone. Hey, Willie, what's going on, brother?
Hey man, I'm happy to be in this. We in here. We're gonna talk about these sports, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's always a lot going on in October in the sports world, man. It's great.
No doubt, no doubt. And I'm not the big baseball guy here. We got it. We'll throw this in there because hey Willie, but the Dodgers take care of business,
For sure.
4-1 over the Yankees. So shout out to the Dodgers, but we'll say that for last. If anything, I'll give a Willie some parting words about the baseball. But hopping right into it, Christie Sides out as Indiana Fever's head coach. Maybe not a surprise for most. I mean, I think I felt like the Indiana Fever need a veteran coach, somebody that's going to be able to get the max out of Caitlin Clark. I mean, some things that you can notice and some things that goes unnoticed, but I really think that she needs somebody that's going to be stern with her, and you know, and get some of the bad habits out of her that she does have. She's a great player, but just like any player or just like any person, she got some habits that probably needs to be broken in order for her to reach the next level and help the Fever reach the next level. Hey, Willie, I'm going to turn it over to you and just give your thoughts on Christie Sides being out as head coach.
You know, I can say this, man, from working for a team in two capacities, and you know this as well, and your GM responsibilities also. Is a gift and a curse. Everything is a gift and a curse. Everything has a yin and a yang. When you have a great transcendent generational player, it's great for your franchise. And we all want those generational, all-time great players on your franchise. But the other thing it does, and you know this from sitting on the management side as well, the clock starts ticking in terms of you putting a roster around that generational talent to make sure that they stay locked in and dialed in with your franchise and not start looking at the girl that's on the other side of the club. So, with that being said, the pressure is on Indiana to build that franchise, to build that roster up around Caitlin Clark, including getting a coach that she has a level of respect for. As you say, not saying she didn't respect Chrissy Size, but it definitely needs to be a veteran coach, someone that can come in and command the room and get that buy-in so she can hold Caitlin accountable as well as the rest of the roster, like you said. You go on the clock immediately once you get a transcendent player.
No, no doubt. As you mentioned, like it's not. It was never like I didn't think that it was a level of disrespect or anything like that. But like when you get a generational talent, you need somebody that can cultivate it. And I didn't believe that a young coach, not so much like young as an age or anything like that, but as an experience. She hasn't been a head coach in the league that long. So, and I didn't feel like to take the steps that it was going to be necessary. You can't afford to miss this window to try to groom a coach and a young transcendent player at the same time. I just don't believe that exists. And now, you know, of course, the speculation of Stephanie White stepping into the Fever, which is really I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, regardless of everything that has taken place. But Stephanie White has proven what she can do in the WNBA, and I think to get the Fever going in that direction, I don't think it's another better candidate out there than Stephanie White.
No, I agree, man, especially given the fact that Stephanie has his franchise, right? She played for Lynn Dunn in college. She coached under Lynn Dunn with the Fever as well. She's from Indiana. Again, accomplished point guard in her own right, a national champion, all those things. And a great coach. And when you watch her demeanor and what she did in Connecticut, again, that was a veteran roster, of course, assembled by Kurt Miller, coached by Kurt Miller. Kurt Miller goes to LA. She steps in and she has the right demeanor to be able to deal with those established players. You got Olympians on that roster, you got all-stars on that roster, you got people that are in MVP running on that roster, you got champions on that roster and DeWanna Bonner. So having all that in place and she comes in and commands it, I don't necessarily think she was the issue in Connecticut. So with that being said, yeah, I think this is a no-brainer. Given all those things, and one of the things that we talk about on this show a lot, hashtag point guard life, Stephanie White to Caitlin Clark, point guard, the point guard is almost like having an offensive guy as your head coach, Andy Reid to Patrick Mahomes. I think this is a match made in heaven. Indiana needs to make it happen.
Right, and now with that, before we move along, now they, Size great run. They finished 20-20. Eventually end up losing in the first round against Connecticut. But we got Kurt Miller out at Los Angeles, Teaspoon out in Chicago, Tanisha Wright out at Atlanta Dream, Dallas Wings fired Latricia Trammell, and you got Mike Tebow out at Washington Mystic. So
and Eric, both of them.
Yeah, both of them. I was staying strictly with the coaches, but it's a lot of room. I'm very intrigued to see where these candidates come from, but it's part of the game, man. Part of the game. Moving along,
right?
You got,
right. Let me say this real quick about it. I guess the good thing about it is, the success as the league continues to grow and it starts to demand the public sports conscience. That's where that pressure comes in. This is a sign of growth, man. So again, we get hired to get fired at some point, and it's starting to mirror what you see in college sports, what you see in the NBA. Because again, people are invested. So if people are invested, this is part of the job.
No doubt. When we talk about change, I tell people want growth, and along with growth comes change, and sometimes the change that is changes that you may not want.
Exactly.
And it's a long list of that, man. It can go along with all the public scrutiny that players are being given, coaches are being given, franchises are being given. I mean, the more eyeballs, the more attention. That you're not always going to have purists giving they 2 cents. It's gonna be a multitude of everybody, and it's gonna be good, bad, ugly, hateful, all type of things that we got to experience and unfortunately witness. But it's part of the game. I mean, it's been like that. It exists in the NBA, NFL, any major sport. You're gonna have that. You got Unrivaled, like we've talked about on this show before. The 3v3 league that'll be start tipping off in Miami in January of 2025. Recently, they added 3 more players, which was Kate Money Martin, Aaliyah Edwards, and then Lexi Hall. They still have 1 spot available for the original 30-player roster, but just recently, earlier today, Nafisa Collier mentioned that they're going to have an additional 6 spots. So now they have 36 players to go participate in Unrivaled. The reason why this was able to happen is because they have reached their financial goals and predictions and everything like that. So it allowed room for them to add extra players, which is something that they wanted to do initially anyway, but they didn't know it was going to happen as fast. But it's, women getting it done. 36 spots, more players, the more the merrier. Definitely was excited to see more rookies jump in, especially the rookies that didn't receive a ton of playing time throughout the regular season. I think anything where you can start building those connections and playing in competitions and people getting to see how you work daily, can definitely put you in the right spot in the right rooms when players are or franchises are starting to look for players in this offseason. Your thoughts expanding from 30 to 36?
Is exactly what we were just talking. We're talking about what was going on with the coaching changes in the W. It's growth. People are realizing just how valuable women's sports are. It represents the new frontier, from an investment standpoint. Let's be for real, man. You know, one of the things I talk about all the time is hashtag RTO, real talk only. There are people that are invested in sports because yes, they believe in watching women elevate and they want to be a part of that. But let's be for real. Some of these people are part of this or they're coming to the party because they see the dollars and they ain't really concerned about elevating women. They are concerned about elevating their pocketbooks. So with that being said, we know this. If it helps to elevate the pocketbooks of the women that are participating, I'm all for it. So yeah, man, this is great to see. Again, as you said, that like we were saying earlier, that scrutiny, that interest, that pressure that comes with being in the public eye. There is a good side and a bad side to it. So I'm glad to see this growth, man. I can't wait. We may need to go take a trip down to Young Miami and see Unrivaled, man.
Hey, not a bad idea, and you definitely won't get any disagreements from me. I mean, Miami 3v3 hoops. Hey, I'm all for it.
Man.
Yeah, it's good to see. Like I said, I mean, I feel like they're going to be able to get a lot of things done within Nafisa Collier, Brianna Stewart. It's a beautiful thing when you got two of the best players in the league heading something because it instantly gives you all credibility that you need to get behind it. And as you mentioned, and when you start talking ROIs, who's not going to jump on the bandwagon of a league that's headed by the two best players? Then you got a lot of budding stars and everything like that. I'm sure somewhere down the line, out of the 7 players that they have left to get, I'm sure people are kind of anxious to see if Caitlin Clark might jump and put her name in the hat. But I don't think so because lately she's doing the golf thing. And it's been a lot of hype around that, so she must be a pretty good golfer for them to be talking about the LPGA and stuff like that. But it'll be intriguing to see, man. Now, we'll start talking about this more in the future, but women's college basketball.
Oh man, I can't wait.
A lot of star power, a lot of good games coming up. They've been doing the exhibition games and things like that, but next Monday, tipping off over in Adidas Arena over in Paris, France. You got some heavy hitting games. You got Ole Miss and USC at 12 p.m. on ESPN, and then later at 2:30, you got Louisville and UCLA. Just to kick it off, first game, you got Juju Watkins, of course, is everybody's, that's must-see TV.
Better know it.
Ole Miss is ranked 20. USC is ranked number 3. This year, if you haven't been paying attention, it's going to be a big surprise when you watch USC because it's no longer just going to be the Juju Watkins show. I mean, they are loaded with some heavy talent. One of them, they picked up Kiki from Stanford, which is
Iriafi.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
which is A. Willie's favorite. You got a ton of McDonald All-Americans coming in. Mine is Kennedy Smith, who strikingly looks like Juju Watkins if you're not paying attention.
He does.
But this is going to be a tough team. Love their coach and Lindsey Gottlieb. I like what she did with them last year. It's going to be intriguing to see what they look like this year with a lot more talent. And what it really shows and how well-rounded Juju Watkins' game is, no longer having to be the prolific scorer. Even without all the All-Americans and everything coming in, you pick up a player like Kiki, your responsibilities shift. Like you no longer carrying the heavy scoring burden that you
Facts.
did. Because if people paid attention to Stanford last year when Kiki and Cameron Brinks, Kiki was carrying them a lot when Cam was on the bench hacking. So, uh, it was just one of those things. So it was, she carried a heavy load for Stanford last season. So I think bringing that over to USC, playing with a guard like Juju, and like I said, a ton of other talent that they have coming in, is going to be tough. Just your thoughts real quick, A. Willie, on that matchup.
Come on, man. You know what my thoughts are. Fight on, man. We all about USC over here. But I love Coach Yo, right? Like, because she brings a mentality and a toughness. So this is a good test for USC right out the chute, because even though there may be a talent discrepancy, one thing we know about Coach Yo teams at Ole Miss, they don't lack for toughness. Ask Kiki when Ole Miss came to Stanford and knocked them out of the tournament. So if anybody knows what Ole Miss is all about, it's Kiki. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to seeing what Madison Scott does for Ole Miss. Looking forward to seeing what Kennedy Todd Williams does for Ole Miss. Also, that's my cousin, if y'all didn't know. I'm joking, man. But yeah, I love Coach Yo. I love the attitude they play with. You know they're going to guard. So this is a great, great test for USC right out the chute. Man, respect to these teams for going over here and not playing, Division 8, a Division 8 school out of the chute. They're coming out and they're playing teams that are going to put them to the test. And that's one of the things you have to do if you want to have a deep run into March and hopefully playing in that first week of April for that in the Final Four in the national championship. But yes, back to my Trojans, #fight on. Man, I am so much looking forward to what Juju does again in that ancillary role where she's facilitating. And then if need be, she can take over games down the stretch. She won't admit this, but we all know this when you're evaluated. There are times where sometimes that she's carrying that scoring load and every defensive resource is dedicated towards stopping her. Maybe you can run out of gas a little bit down the stretch. She's a competitor. She won't ever say that, but that's a reality. Now, when you have the plethora of players that they have, man, I can't wait to see Kiki and Juju in pick and roll sets. Because, in addition to getting it done in the paint, Kiki can also pick and pop and hit that jumper, which opens it up for Juju and everybody else as they're driving toward the rim. Man, I cannot wait to see this. Kiki defensively as well. Man, I'm so excited about this matchup. I can't wait to see it.
Other matchup, Louisville and UCLA. Of course, UCLA, you got Lauren Betts and you got Kiki Rice.
Lauren Betts.
And I didn't realize Lauren Betts is just a junior. So like, man, that's it's gonna be interesting to see whether she stays or goes, and how this season goes. But then you got Louisville, who I'm a huge fan of Jeff Waltz. Like I felt like no matter
coach,
no matter what type of talent he's had on his team, he always manages to get the max out of every player. And I think that was a big part of Haley Van Lith and her emergence at Louisville. Is just what he does. Like, I mean, if you got it in there, he'll get it out of you. But normally, a fast up tempo team. It's going to be interesting to see what type of pressure that they can put on UCLA's backcourt. But the size difference can play a part. I mean, UCLA is huge. Even outside of Lauren Betts, they have great size, great length. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens in that matchup. And like I said, that's 2:30 Monday on ESPN. Anything you want to add about that matchup, UCLA and Louisville?
Man, I can't. To your point, I definitely Jeff Waltz can coach. I love watching what his teams do. I love watching. I'm telling you, as a guard, as a point guard, I would have loved to have played for him, because one thing he's going to let you do, if you can go, he's going to let you go, right? You can ask Haley Van Lith. You can ask Dana Evans. Shout out Dana Evans. So you can ask them, if you are a guard at Louisville, Angel McCoughtry, if you can go, they're going to let you go. So I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the pressure that they put on UCLA's backcourt and watching Kiki Rice and the others have to guard. But yeah, man, Big Lauren Betts fan. I think she was out for a little bit last year, then came back. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing them play. But man, even as much as I'm looking forward to seeing both of these games, I cannot wait to see the Big Ten games between USC and UCLA. The battle for LA is going to be hype, man. And I love to see that it's super, super competitive on the women's side, man. Like the battle for my city is going to be a battle for sure, man. I know we racking up the miles. I don't know if your lady got something to say about this, man, but we might need to go see that too.
Hey, well, I seen one of my partners was talking about, man. I got to look at Ohio State schedule and see who's visiting Columbus too.
Hey,
With the new found teams in the Big Ten, but nah, it's definitely going to be a clash in LA. Moving along, NBA news. Bronny scored his first bucket last night. Although the Lakers did get it handed to them, 134 to 110 by Cleveland, who's off to a 5-0 start. Hottest start they've had since 2016. But what I liked about the Cleveland crowd, man, they gave LeBron and Bronny a welcome home.
absolutely.
They even started to chant for Bronny before he ever entered the game. It wasn't until the fourth quarter, with 2 minutes and 3 seconds left, that Bronny hit his first NBA bucket. It was a left wing jumper on a step back. It's been all about moments and everything like that. When you talk about Bronny James and LeBron, I think it's the earlier you get all this over with, the better. LA has bigger fish to fry, but it was a good moment. Like I said, Bronny hit his first bucket. I'm sure, after this road trip, he'll get the tools and the run and everything that he needs from the G League. But just your thoughts on Bronny getting his first NBA bucket.
Hey, man, I know everything in it, man, but you know the move where Bron, he doesn't do it as much now. But you know the move where Bron would look at the ball like that and then pull it and shoot a three,
You're right.
and he would make it every time. Bronny's first bucket was almost like that. Similar footwork. Obviously, he didn't look at the ball and all that. But so having that similar footwork and then doing it in Cleveland and in an arena that essentially LeBron brought to life, it was very, very, very. It's one of those things that if you look at it and you say, man, like the emotional side of sport, the business side of sports, that's what that watching Bronny get that basket in that fashion, in that building with his dad watching, man. And then the other thing that was so crazy about it, watching LeBron try to play coy and try to play cool, inside that heart was boom, 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 right? So,
I'm sure.
yeah, man. So, shout out to Bronny. I'm happy for it. Like you said, now we can, they are the first, not only father and son duo to play in the same game. They checked in at the same time in LA, but they are obviously the first father and son duo to score in the same game. And I think that was something that they wanted to get out of the way. It's out of the way now, so we can really focus on, as you said, what's going on with the Lakers as a team. And then Bronny can focus on his development as well, man. So great to see it. And to your point, we've known that the Cleveland crowd hasn't been so hospitable to LeBron in the past, but the fact that they gave Bronny his props and they were shouting for him, man, that's a good thing, man. It restored my faith in humanity, bro.
Well, I think a lot of probably the Cleveland fan base realizing it's only LeBron probably only has so many trips left
Right.
before he comes back to Cleveland for a last time. But like I say, great moment. Cavs 5-0. They got a good core of players brewing there too as well. Another nightcap game that I paid attention to, the Spurs and the Thunder. Thunder is now 4-0. They defeated the Spurs 105 to 93. Love the Thunder. They got another team with a fun group of young core players. Lou Dort led them in scoring last night with 20 points. Chet Holmgren at 19. Real balanced roster. Jalen Williams, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. SGA, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. They really got it done. Collective effort, but a fun group to watch. Another game, Big Cat for the Knicks last night. Knicks now 500. Karl Anthony Towns went off for 44 points and 13 rebounds. It's definitely the cat that they're going to need. Jalen Brunson, he didn't shoot the ball particularly well. He was only 6 of 18, but sure, Knicks fans, something to get Knicks fans excited for. You know, it don't take much. So
It does not.
so
They're
yes,
starving.
yeah, so something to get them going. But you had the Pacers defeated the Celtics, handed the Celtics their first loss in overtime, which was it made a dramatic ending, but they were up double figures.
Man.
And then let the game slip away, and Jason Tatum knocked down a game-tying three to send it into overtime. But the Pacers escape out of there. Like I said, the Celtics get their first loss. Tatum finished with 37 points and 8 rebounds. Derek White, 23 points. Jaylen Brown, 25 points and 6 rebounds, 5 assists. But on the other end, you have Pascal Siakam, 29 points, 11 rebounds. Halliburton, 17 points, 12 assists. And then Mathurin gave him 30 off the bench, man. Along with Obi Toppin's 18 points and 7 rebounds. That's another young, fun group to watch. You expected a ton of inconsistencies with the youth, but this fun team to watch overall. The Warriors got it done last night without Steph, 104-89. I'm a big Warriors fan. Just kind of like watching Steph play, and then I like the fluidity of watching the Warriors. It's not just a bunch of ISO ball screens and different things of that nature. So, and then the Nets, man, I've been paying attention to them, man. A bunch of young bulls. They've been competitive even in the games that they've lost, but they beat the Grizzlies last night on the road, 119 to 106. Dennis Schroeder finished with 33 points, 8 assists. I think he's been doing a good job leading them young guys. He definitely is the veteran on this team. And you kind of always like when it comes from a perimeter player, in my eyes anyway. I mean, especially when they got a young guard like Cam Thomas, who's a prolific scorer. Still don't know what to expect or what we ever going to get out of Ben Simmons. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But Jaren Jackson Jr., 30 points, 4 rebounds. Minnesota, they still got a lot of work to do. I mean, not Minnesota. Memphis still has a lot of work to do. Ja Morant only shot 5 for 16, finished with 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists. But I think it's going to be a minute before they hit their stride and get back to the team that they were before Ja Morant went out. But that pretty much covers it from my viewpoint of what I seen from the NBA last night. Any thoughts before we move on?
Memphis, Marcus Smart got hurt. So again, that a big issue is health and incorporating those guys, because Marcus Smart's on the team last year. Ja comes and plays 8 games, right? And then Desmond Bane was dealing with some injury issues last year. So it's really for them, it's having their full complement of players and seeing what they have, and then making sure that they can incorporate all those things and all those pieces together. So one of the things too I'll pay attention to also with Indiana is Tyrese Halliburton hasn't gotten off to the best start from a shooting standpoint yet. I expect him to break out of it, but he's not shooting the percentages that he normally shoots. And what's so weird about it is, man, before he sustained that ankle injury last year that really impacted him, he missed games and he tried to play through it even when they made their run throughout the playoffs. The level that he was playing at before he got hurt. And, ankle injuries are one of those things that the only thing that really heals it is rest. He played in the Olympics and all those different things as well. So, I don't know if I don't know if he's dealing with something still that he's not really talking about, but he's certainly not playing at that level that we saw pre-ankle injury last year. But I expect him to really get it, to get moving in the right direction here soon. That was a big win for them to beat the Celtics without Miles Turner. But yeah, Benedict Mathurin has been having a big year so far too. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, just to keep the spotlight on you for a second, I guess tonight's NBA action, just to be on the look. You got Rockets and Mavericks. You got Bucks and Grizzlies. You got Spurs and Jazz, and then you got the Suns and the Clippers. Um, just something to pay attention to if you're watching NBA ball tonight. A lot going on. The NFL going on tonight, which is we're gonna get to that, but just some games to look out for. For us, moving along to college football, I think it's fun times right now for college. For us, I mentioned earlier, Colorado is going bowling. Before we get to that, just real quick on my Ohio State Buckeyes, we managed to come back and get a nice win against a feisty Nebraska team at home, 21-17. Will Howard finished with 221 yards passing. Got it done on the ground between Henderson and Judkins. It's been a combination. Didn't really run the ball that well. We only had 64 rushing yards compared to Nebraska's 121 rushing yards, but got it done in the air. Cornell Tate, four catches for 102 yards, 1 touchdown. Jeremiah Smith continues to electrify the field as a freshman. 3 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Judkins had caught one out of the backfield. But, just Buckeyes, number 4, 6-1, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Looking week to week of what they managed to do. Now, moving along, remember we said we was going to be on the Ashton Genty watch. They defeated UNLV 29-24. He ran for 128 yards. So we're always going to be on the watch for Genty and see he's a Heisman candidate. Definitely going looking to break the rushing record. So we're going to keep track of him. But the bigger picture, Colorado Buffaloes, they played Cincinnati Bearcats at home. It was a late game. They got it done 34-23. Shedeur Sanders finished with 323 yards passing. Also 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Auguste, he finished with 91 yards on 22 carries, 1 touchdown. Travis Hunter, man, 9 catches, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Was named Big 12 player of the week, both offensive and defensive player of the week. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. But most importantly, 6-2, 4-1 in the conference. They are now bowl eligible. I really want to get your thoughts. Hey, Willie, this is a moment we've been waiting for. The one thing I want to say before I turn it over is that now everybody wants to talk about how weak the Big 12 is, and teams are not that good. But if Prime and the Buffaloes was getting their ass whooped, they'd be singing a whole nother tune. So now, like Prime said, they need some new haters because the old ones done became fans. So hats off to Prime and his staff and those guys for getting it done. I still think they got some more wins left in them. Like he said, the goal was to get Peggy to a bowl, but they want to get her to the nicest bowl possible.
Right.
So, like I said, hats off to the Buffs. Hey, Willie, your thoughts on the Buffaloes going bowling?
Man, it's hard not to be excited about it, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse, and I'm sure that's what they're being coached on, with making sure that they maximize that bowl opportunity and just playing the opponent that's in front of you, winning each play. And if you win each play that happens, that means that if you win more plays than you lose, then you win the game. And I think that's the approach that they're looking at, because, man, it's hard not to be excited. But for us, we can speculate. If they can continue to win, man, I cannot wait to see and hopefully see this team make a march toward the Big 12 championship and be in that college football playoff conversation. Coach Prime is doing a hell of a job, especially when degree of difficulty matters. Once you start looking at when someone takes over a program, where they are as a program versus where they get to, infusing energy and all sorts of things into that program from a positive standpoint that elevates the experience, elevates the play that you're getting from the players, all of those things. Because again, I don't think people realize this in college athletics. There's a difference between a job inherently being a good job, meaning you have all the resources from a budgetary standpoint, and you also have fertile recruiting ground within close proximity of your school. Those are things that make a job inherently a good job. And then you have people that go to places and make a job a good job. And sometimes people in the athletic administration and fans alike look at someone that goes and makes make a place a good job, and then they start thinking, hey, inherently we got a job that we can place anybody in here and have them coach and they'll have the same results. That's what Jerry Jones thought as it related to the Cowboys, right? Anybody can coach here, and they ain't been back in almost 30 years. So shout out to Coach Prime, and people better realize this man and what he's done has made this a good job versus it being from a resources recruitment standpoint. This is a destination spot that almost anybody can coach at and attain a level of success. Clearly, that's not the case, but I hope y'all understand that that's not the case.
No, you are correct. I mean, I think a lot of people they get a false sense of reality thinking that anybody can do the job anywhere. Now, it is certain cases where you got because even if you take that and you look at Alabama now, don't tell me Alabama still don't have Alabama talent. But
Right.
obviously, the job is a little different. The results have been a little different. So, you know, there are certain people for certain jobs, and
Right.
he's definitely fitting the mold for that. And now I know it's probably going to be a ton of speculation with Florida State falling off. Now Colorado is on the rise. You know, is Deion gonna stay? Is he gonna go? I mean, now I know they got some top recruits, you know, flipping their commitment to go to Colorado now. So who knows?
Hey, a quarterback that's committed to my hashtag fight on Trojans has been flirting with Colorado. So I don't know, man. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so it's just one of those things. Just giving a real quick recap for college football week 9. Just going down the line, Texas took care of business and escaped at a Vanderbilt 27-24. Miami defeated Florida State 36-14. Cam Ward threw for 208 yards in that game. The other matchup, LSU and Texas A&M. Texas A&M defeated LSU 38-23. Navy and Notre Dame, I was kind of interested to see how that went, but man, Notre Dame lit them up, forced a lot of turnovers in that game, won 51-14. And then Indiana is still on a roll, man, 31-17 over Indiana. Alabama got it done over Missouri. Missouri never stood a chance in that
That's
game.
a sad one for me. I was born in St. Louis, bro.
Yeah, no, I watched. I watched as much as I could, but after a while, just Missouri could not move the ball at all.
Yeah, the starting quarterback played. He was hurt coming into the game. Tried to gut it out. They had to take him out because he was hurt. So they're going with their backup. And really, their second string young guy got hurt playing baseball. So he's not even playing football this year. He was a highly regarded, I think, 4-star recruit. And he's not playing this year, so they're going with Drew Pine, who's bounced around, played at a few places, a familiar name in college football, but not, a guy that's a highly regarded guy that comes in 4- or 5-star recruit that can really move the needle for you. And their starting running back was out as well. So Mizzou, in order to play with Alabama, needed their full complement of guys. And then you got your starting running back and your starting quarterback comes in hurt, trying to gut it out, can't play, and then you don't play your starting running back at all due to injury. That was going to be an uphill battle. And you're playing in Tuscaloosa with Alabama coming off some losses. They were going to be motivated as well, man. Like, that was a tough one for Mizzou.
Yeah, now moving to week 10, just some games to look out this weekend. You got Penn State. Well, hold on. Let's start with Boise State. Like I said, we're on the Ashton Genty watch. They play Friday, 8 p.m. Fox Sports 1. They're at home against San Diego State. And then Saturday, man, starting at 12 p.m. I'm a little nervous. Ohio State travels to Penn State. Penn State ranked number 3. Ohio State ranked number 4. Man, and it's always a tough one when we playing down there in Penn State. So that I'll definitely be locked in at noon for that. And then moving along, not too many games really popping out at me. I mean, you got Oregon at Michigan, 3:30 on CBS, Paramount Plus. Then you got Florida at Georgia. Typically, which would be a really big game. Don't know what Florida team is going to show up. Texas Tech at Iowa State. Indiana at Michigan State, which I think is going to be a good tester for Indiana. They ranked 13th. What a story about them, man. A team that was unranked fought into the top 25 and worked their way down, man. They're almost working in playoff territory here soon. But I think that really tops it out for me, man. I don't really see any other games that's really pretty much jumping out at me. You got USC at Washington. That's about it. I mean, so the 12 o'clock game it's gonna mean something to me, man.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question for you, man. Are y'all gonna decide to play offense in the year 2024 or what, man?
Hey, man, I don't know. The whole thing about getting Chip Kelly, I'm thinking we about to light up the scoreboard, man, a little bit. I mean, because you can't tell me we don't have the weapons, and that's the thing about it with Ohio State right now. They're deemed basically as the only super team because of the payroll, man, and you're talking about an ROI. I mean, if we ain't playing in the last game or anywhere close to it, man, that's bad business. So
right.
And every week you're gonna be everybody's Super Bowl anyway. So
yeah, your quarterback got to be a quarterback this on Saturday, man, and not, I know everybody gets up in arms about the term game manager at the quarterback position, but the reality is all of the quarterbacks, when they're playing well, they are managing the game. They are controlling the game. They're not giving the ball to the other team. They're making sure you're having third and manageable as you can continue to control the ball. So all great quarterbacks are game managers. So I don't get caught up in the minutia of who's a star, who's a game manager. When you're playing great, you're managing the game. Your guy has to manage the game, and managing the game is using those weapons on the outside, like you said. If I'm Penn State, I'm gonna make him play quarterback. You're not just gonna sit up there and run the ball and pass 15 times and think you're gonna beat us. You're gonna have to play some quarterback a little bit. And Nebraska was trying to do that, and they almost won having him play a little bit of quarterback. And I think Penn State can do that at a higher level than Nebraska. I can't wait to see this game. I want you guys to win, but your guys got to play some quarterback if they're going to win.
No doubt. Now, moving on to our of the day, NFL football, man. Recapping week 8. See, Willie already shaking his head, man. But sure, a tough week for his teams. But just quick recapping. Of course, Thursday night football, you had the Los Angeles and Minnesota. Minnesota actually picked up their second loss on the season, a 30-20 win by the Los Angeles Rams. Stafford threw for 279 yards. On Sunday, you had Philadelphia, the Bengals. Philly looked pretty good, 37-17. Hurts did his thing with 236 yards passing, and Barkley 108 yards rushing. They look real balanced. Cincinnati, tough start to the season for them. Then Baltimore and Cleveland, man. I kind of want to come back to that as I'm just running down the line, but Jameis Winston, man, like key play to that whole game. When I was watching it. The play before he threw the touchdown, it actually should have been picked. It should have been picked off. The play before, and then he throws a touchdown. The next pass, man. But it couldn't be a better week for Jameis Winston, man. You know, forget the numbers and everything. Although he threw for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. But just the whole soundbite of him sticking up for Deshaun, and then now you're looking at him seizing the moment, getting the opportunity. But you got to look at the fact that you don't give up 100 yards to Derrick Henry. You make Lamar, have to beat you by himself, which is he still had 289 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, but Derrick Henry has to dominate up front for them. I think for them to beat. That's when they're at their best. But hats off to Cleveland, man. Got it done at home. Quick thoughts as we talked about Jameis Winston helping the Cleveland Browns pick up a big time victory over the Ravens. Maybe that can put some faith back into their season as they're sitting 2-6.
Man, for me, is the same thing: make you laugh, make you cry. And so you're looking at Kyle Hamilton. He was out there as a one-man wrecking crew. And if people listen to us when we talked about the NFL last time, and I was telling you about how I'm looking at the Ravens, sorry, and how I'm going on dates, I told you when I'm looking at my checklist of, do I like the Ravens? Do I want to date the Ravens? Do I want to be in a relationship with the Ravens? I told you my red flags were playing defense and the amount that they're penalized. The defensive part came back to haunt them in this game. Kyle Hamilton was out there doing work. Same thing, makes you laugh, make you cry. He's doing work, but at the same time, he was the one that dropped that interception that would have sealed the game for the Ravens. So as much as it was frustrating, I couldn't be mad at him because this dude was out there doing work, because the Ravens defense is not that good. The Ravens defense is susceptible to giving up big plays, which puts a lot of pressure on the offense, Lamar and Derrick Henry, to come through. And for the most part, they have been. Like you said, Lamar had, I think, 289, but Lamar could have had even more yards. The Ravens receivers, and they went out and got Deontay Johnson. Part of the reason why they did that, because the Ravens receivers had some big drops in that game as well that cost them, that would have made Lamar's day even more impressive. So with that being said, watching what happens with the defense, watching what happens in the penalties department, and then watching what happens on the offensive line with the Ravens is pause for concern, man. And I said that before this game when I was looking at, we going on dates and you looking good, but you got some red flags that I need to pay attention to. And I'm kind of looking past them because you fine, but they're in the back of my head. The same things have been sort of coming and rearing their ugly heads and then impacting the Ravens in a negative way, man. So that's something to pay attention to for the Ravens moving forward. But shout out Jameis, man. I'm happy to see what he was able to do because I root for Jameis. And if anybody knows the NFL and they know talent was never the issue with Jameis. You got to play this position with a level of irrational confidence. Jameis has that. Shout out to him, man. I'm happy for him.
No doubt. Moving along, Detroit still getting it done, 52-14 over Tennessee. Arizona 28-27 over Miami. Jets lose another one, 25-22 to New England.
Hey, man, you got some ayahuasca or some cayenne pepper or something that we can drink, man? Found to you.
Hey, man, that's the Jets' problem, man. I don't know how long they're gonna put up with that, man. But we'll have to carve out some time to talk about the Jets, especially they take another L coming soon. But Atlanta gets it done over Tampa Bay, 31-26. Green Bay, 30-27 over Jacksonville. My Texans, got it done, 23 to Indiana, 23-20 over Indianapolis Colts. Los Angeles Chargers, 26-8 over New Orleans. Buffalo, 31-10 over Derwin's Seattle Seahawks. Carolina falls to Denver 28-14. Las Vegas, they fought, man, but 27-20 over Kansas City. And then, the last few games, man, Washington and Chicago, thriller. Jaden Daniels threw for 326 yards, including a Hail Mary pass to win the game. Just really quick about that game is it coming down to a Hail Mary. I know they've talked about a numerous, holding calls and penalties that probably went on during that, but it was a 52-yard pass from Jaden Daniels to Noah Brown. The biggest clip of it all is the defensive back for Chicago. Yeah, he's celebrating while the play is going on, man. Like, he's talking to banter back and forth with the crowd, and the play goes up, man. That's just horrible. And then they lose the game, but big ups to the Commanders. They 6-2, 4-0 at home. The Bears fall to 4-3. Two good young quarterbacks duking it out. Caleb didn't have the best day, but Jaden Daniels, we've been rocking with him. Him and Miss Daniels. So yeah,
dance. That's all we got to say about Miss Daniels. Dance.
Right. So he's doing a great job. Coming back, especially having a minor rib injury, as we know right now. But the Commanders rolling, man. Then moving along to the Sunday night football game, Dallas and 49ers. 49ers get it done over the Cowboys, man. Another tough loss for the Cowboys, man. They starting to rack them up. They're 3-4 now, while the 49ers getting to 500 at 4-4. But Brock Purdy, 260 yards, 1 touchdown. I believe in that game. What's the Kittles?
Yeah,
6 receptions, 128 yards, 100 touchdown, 1 touchdown. They had a great game. Actually, I can't remember. He set records that game for the franchise, if I'm not mistaken. CeeDee Lamb had another great game, 13 catches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dak, two touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 243 yards. But you got anything you want to say about the Sunday night matchup?
Man, if you give me describing this, one time someone asked me what's if I could describe the Cowboys in one word, what's the word I would use? And the word is rudderless, man. They just don't have any leadership. They are not grounded in anything. And so much so where you have in the previous week, the quarterback saying you have Troy Aikman saying the receivers are running the wrong routes or not, and they're not where they're supposed to be. You have that. You have people questioning Dak on the sidelines. Of course, people are going to question Mike McCarthy in terms of a leadership situation and being able to hold players accountable. They literally do not have something that galvanizes them. They don't have the accountability that they need when you start looking at a team trying to make a run as a championship caliber team. It's got to be someone on the field that people resonate, that their message resonates with the players. And it's got to be someone that's like, all right, when that person talks, yeah, we got to listen. It doesn't seem like it's Dak, because we've seen too many guys challenge him on the sidelines. And at some point, I want Dak to be like, hey, man, who in the fresh hell do you think you are talking to? And sometimes you have to do that. Kendrick says, sometimes you got to pop out and show them. Sometimes you do. And it's clear that they don't have this on this team, because that's what you rely on when things start getting tough, when you have to rely on execution and character when things start getting close. This is the ultimate front run team, man. As if they can get out on you in front run, everybody's a high fiving, they're able to do their thing. But when they got to get gut check wins, that's what happened in this game. They were getting the doors blown off of them, the brakes beat off their asses. They made a run, got the game close when Dak started throwing the ball, getting his stats and things. Got the game close. And then when you got to execute and rely on leadership to win and accountability and people being where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there, it's clear that this team doesn't have this, man. They are rudderless.
No, all and the numbers that I was getting to was Kittle's. It marked It was the 105th game of his career. In 105 games, he has registered 500 receptions, 6,777 yards, and 43 touchdowns. He had 6 receptions on the night. That made him fourth fastest tight end in NFL history to reach 500 career receptions, surpassing former tight end Jimmy Graham, which was a good one. 6,777 receiving yards are the third most receiving yards by any player in franchise history, and with 128 yards on the night, Kittle registered his first game with 100 or more receiving yards this season, and now has 18 career games with 100 or more receiving yards, surpassing wide receiver Gene Washington for the third most such games in franchise history. So, I mean, no doubt, Kittles has became one of, in the list of those hybrid tight ends, built like a tight end, move like a wide receiver. You can throw him in with the Grunks and the Hernandezes and all these athletic tight ends.
Hey, we got one. We got one in Vegas. We got one. Brock Bowers. We got us one.
Yeah. I mean, so just that's the revolution of the tight end position. Moving along, Monday Night Football. We had New York and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh got it done 26-18. It was a pretty good game overall. I've been happy that the Steelers have been managing to win games because I wasn't a big fan at first of Russell coming back getting the job, but man, 20 for 28, 278 yards passing, 1 TD. So I'm gonna shut up and and let Coach Tomlin do what he does. But now just a gutty win. New York, Daniel Jones. Still not out there throwing no dimes, as I mentioned on my post, but 24 for 38, 264 yards passing, no touchdown, 1 interception. The highlight of the night, though, for the Giants was Tyrone Tracy Jr., who finished with 145 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. And he said, he hasn't been playing running back that long. I think he said it's only his 3rd year playing running back. And that's something that I seen on his Twitter. He had requoted the mention about him having a big night, and he was saying just think that, would you believe me if I told you this was only my 3rd year at running back? So hats off to him. But George Pickens, him and Wilson connected for some nice passes. Looking like they building a sturdy relationship. Najee Harris, 19 carries, 114 yards. But you got any words for the Sunday night matchup?
I think the big thing, man, is Pickens and Russell Wilson, because that also opens up the running game for Najee Harris, because you just can't stack the box from a running game perspective and be like, all right, we're just going to go one-on-one on the outside with Pickens, because of the fact that Russell Wilson will take those shots and stretches the field. You now have to defend the entire field. The other thing is, I don't know, it seems like, and man, timing is everything. Earlier during the season, Mike Tomlin said this about George Pickens, and we know sometimes there have been some issues with George Pickens being professional on the field, where sometimes he has to sit out plays, sit out games. Mike Tomlin said when Justin Fields was on that 4-2 start, Mike Tomlin said, you know what? We have George Pickens on the pitch count. Who knows why that is, but you can't have your most dynamic weapon on a pitch count, and that helps your quarterback in terms of taking those shots down the field, in terms of opening the offense up and stretching out the opposing defense. So now maybe George Pickens is because he knows he's going to get the ball. Who knows? But now George Pickens seems to be more reliable as a professional, which I think in turn, of course, helps Russell Wilson, helps the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. So, like you said, man, one thing I've learned is to not doubt Mike Tomlin. And if you look at what the Steelers management, and I'm talking about the front office, what they've given Mike Tomlin from the last couple of years of Ben Roethlisberger to now at the quarterback position, man, we're seeing Indianapolis, for example, putting Band-Aids on the quarterback position. We're seeing the Jets do it, and it's not working. The Steelers have also been doing this. We talking Mason Rudolph. We talking the guy that can do the duck imitation. I can't remember his name. It was him, Kenny Pickett, Landry Jones. Look at all of these quarterbacks that have played and started in Pittsburgh after Ben Roethlisberger. And even the last couple of years of Ben Roethlisberger, he certainly wasn't even close to being peak Ben Roethlisberger. But yet, Mike Tomlin has been getting this team to the playoffs. Mike Tomlin has not had any losing seasons, man. So again, the dude is a magician as a coach. And clearly, when we talk about the Cowboys and you talk about rudderless and we talk about commanding the attention of the team and making sure that you can hold them accountable, Mike Tomlin has that credibility, and you see the results.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, I didn't mention, but in that Texans and Indianapolis game, Richardson checked himself out of the game. Fatigue, being tired. I know it was a big uproar about that. I mean, obviously, I look at it two ways, man. And people are gonna look at the fact that when you're a multimillionaire and you own the job, you need to do the job no matter what. But if he was, any other type of job, whether it's construction or anything like that or whatever, you can call off, or whatever, and it'd be looked at totally different. But I understand both sides of the spectrum. I know it's probably something deeper going on with that, whether it's mental health or anything like that. I haven't really dived into it because I really was still stunned by it because it's just something that you've never heard of. Like, I mean, especially when you're the franchise guy now. Of course, Flacco is no stranger to coming in and, help taking a team to a promised land off the couch. But at the same time, you're putting a lot of value and a lot of stock into somebody you look at as your franchise player. And he's playing. You play quarterback, and you got a quarterback. It's a leader of men, and I don't know how many people are going to look at you as a leader, pending on the situation. After a situation like that, where you check yourself out of a game, when you got warriors in front of you fighting to protect you, they're giving it all they got. So it's a touchy situation, but at the same time, it was something new, something that we haven't heard of. It may have happened, but it wasn't public. But you got any thoughts on that before we get out of here?
Man, that's a tough situation. Like you said, this, like we were talking about with Dak and others, like you have to be able to, like you said, as a leader of men, sometimes accountability is part of that, and saying some things that people don't like, but yet it's the truth, and you got to stand on it, and you have to build that credibility up with your teammates. And yeah, when you see guys fighting through injuries, coming out there and playing anyway, you see guys dealing with all sorts of personal things off the field, and they come out anyway. It's really, really tough to have that level of respect and that stature with your teammates when you may ask for a playoff or something, especially from that position. It's weird, man, because I think all of this stuff is subjective and all of this is 2020 hindsight. You have people that are saying you can't go with Anthony, you can't bench Anthony Richardson for the entire year because how does he develop? But then you also have people on the other side of the token saying that when you sit out, and you need to sit out a year or two to develop so you can enter the fray ready to play, man. So I think ultimately it comes down to the player. If Anthony Richardson was out there doing what Jaden Daniels is doing, and doing what CJ Stroud did last year, then we say, yeah, they got to go in there and they got to play and they got to rep out. That's how they become better. But then on the other side of that, if you do what Aaron Rodgers did and you do what Jordan Love did, where you sit out a couple of years and then you start and you hit the ground running, everybody says you hit the ground running because you sat on the bench. Same with Patrick Mahomes for almost an entire season. Oh, he sat. That's why he's a star. So I don't think people really know. I really think it depends on the individual and it depends on the situation. But given that you can play both sides of the fence with this argument based on what happens, I think we're having people playing both sides of the fence.
No doubt. And just a real quick run through week 9. You got Houston and New York Jets tonight, 8:15 on Prime Video. Sunday, you got Dallas and Atlanta. I'm always lurking the Cowboy game, so it don't even matter. Buffalo, Miami, Las Vegas, Cincinnati, Chargers, Cleveland, New York, Tennessee, Washington, New York, which is going to be an interesting matchup. Only, Jaden Daniels' first trip to New York. Going to be keeping an eye out for that. New Orleans and Carolina, Denver, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Chicago, Arizona, Detroit, Green Bay, that's a game I'm going to be looking out for. Detroit rocking and rolling. But then also you got Love at Green Bay. And then
hopefully he's healthy too. Hopefully he can play.
Yeah, it's at Lambeau. So that's another thing to keep an eye out on. And then you got Los Angeles Rams, Seattle, the Colts at Minnesota. That's the Sunday night football. And then Monday night football, you got Tampa Bay and Kansas City. You got Baker. You got Mahomes. Should be a good one. As I always ask you, Willie, you got anything you want to get off your chest?
I do stuff, man. Cali is active. Look what we got going on in LA. Shout out Dodgers winning the World Series. We got Bronny scoring his first points as a Laker. And then, of course, most importantly, we got the Queens of the Court coming up on Monday with USC #FightOn and the UCLA Bruins. What they're doing in women's basketball, man, Cali is active. I love every aspect of it, man. You can't take the West out of my heart, man. So this is a good thing that I wanted to get off my chest and share with everybody, man. Y'all saw what Ice Cube said when the Yankees came to Dodger Stadium and he looked at him and what he said, man. We running it all over here.
Hey, and it's for me for last words. Good to be back in the studio and in the booth with my guy, man. I've been out for a second, but we always gonna give our thoughts and opinions on, like I say, anything sports related, movies or anything thought provoking. Angel Reese, man, doing her thing. A lot of people, giving her hell, thinking she's supposed to be trapped in the gym 24/7. But she's doing the modeling thing tough. She's going to every game, and every game that she's been to, that team has won. So that's something.
I wonder why.
That's something to keep a track record of. Also, shout out to women's college basketball getting started. We'll be covering that quite heavy, mainly the hitter games, as well as men's college basketball. But, of course, a lot of our primary focus will probably be with the women. It's just more matchups, more backstory, more excitement and enthusiasm about that. But overall, just great time for sports, man. You got NBA going on. You got NFL. Baseball just finished up. So just a lot of sports. NBA just getting kicked off. Waiting for that. That probably doesn't get rocking and rolling until after All-Star break, unfortunately. But no, just a great time for sports. Keep tapping into the show. And as I always say, if you don't know anything about me, I'm here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch us on the next episode.
Cali is active.